We've had some huge news about the return of Verdansk this week, and while a lot of it is positive, I'm still a little bit nervous about the return of this fan favourite map. So let's get into it. So the Verdansk news train started chugging along with this tweet from the Ghost of Hope, who is a well-known Call of Duty leaker. The tweet says, exclusive details on the return of Verdansk will launch with Season 3 of Black Ops 6, is pretty much the OG March 2020 version. Train station interior will be closed, interior of stadium will be open, but roof will be closed. The train returns, and there's no fast travel subway system. So a few weeks ago in my wishlist for Verdansk video, I said that I would like to see Verdansk return as a hybrid between Verdansk 84, which was the Cold War era of Verdansk, and Verdansk that we had in 2020, which is obviously the Modern Warfare era of Verdansk. Because Black Ops 6 is meant to be set in the 90s, you'd be very forgiven for thinking that it's actually not set in the 90s because we've had no reference to the timeline or anything like that. But I thought it would be good to have sort of these two maps sort of combined into one and create a Super Verdansk if you want. However, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be the 2020 version of it. For me, that's fine. I would like to see a little bit more detail on this, whether or not we're going to have zip lines, whether or not we're going to have redeployed balloons. I know a few people are against redeployed balloons. I think we should just have the static ones, no portable ones or anything like that. Or if there is portable ones in the game, there's only one per buy station and there is no way to loot them out of chests and stuff like that. For me, that's my opinion on that. So to see the original map return, I'm happy about, but I feel like we could have had something just a little bit better. Then things like the train station interior being closed and the stadium interior being open but the roof being closed kind of makes me think that in future seasons we're going to see updates to Verdansk where they'll probably open up the train station like they did back in the day, and also stadium roof like they did back in the day. Obviously, when this map first dropped, we were not able to even get into stadium, so the fact that stadium's going to be sort of there on day one for us to play when it redrops is kind of a good thing for me. I feel like it was a popular POI, and obviously we're going to see the stadium roof probably blown open and a massive crater in stadium because that's all they ever do to these maps at some point in the near future. The train returning to Verdansk for me is kind of just a staple of Call of Duty now. We got it originally in Verdansk, we've had it in Al Mazrah, and we had it in Urzikstan as well, so the fact that it is coming back isn't really much of a surprise. And then the no subway for fast travel for me personally, I don't think this is a bad thing. I'm not really too bothered by not having a subway system. I don't think we've had fast travel for a sweet minute now in Warzone. However, we will talk about fast travel very, very soon. So a day later, we got this tweet from Charlie Intel, which says the Grau and the HDR weapons are potentially returning to Call of Duty Warzone with Verdansk per sources. Data miners have also found references to the original Rose operator potentially returning as well. And then just a few hours after that, the Ghost of Hope then tweeted a grain of salt rumour that says AMAX and Kilo will return to Verdansk in Season 3. To be dropping a Grau, an AMAX and a Kilo all in one season, I don't think is going to happen. We're not going to get 3 assault rifles all in one season. There's just no way. Even if we were to get one mid-season and one at the start of the season, that is not happening either. I can't see that happening. I can imagine they're going to start to drip feed these fan favorite weapons back into it, without a shadow of a doubt. If I was to hedge a bet on it, I would say the Grau will definitely come back and the HDR will come back at the start of the season. I think those two were some of the original metas back in the OG Verdansk days, and without a shadow of a doubt, they'll probably be meta in this Warzone as well. Then just touching on the AMAX and the Kilo, these two are my favourite AR metas that we've ever had in Warzone. The Kilo was meta when I was just getting into Warzone, and I really jumped on the Warzone hype train early when it first dropped. I was kind of more waiting around to like the Haunting when I really got on it, but Kilo was pretty much meta then anyway. It was so easy to use, it was so fun to use, really enjoyed the Kilo. And then as it got a little bit better, the AMAX, you know, that it was recoil, it was heavy hitting, but it had recoil and it felt good, it felt rewarding to use. Those two were my favourite metas, so if we could see them back in there, Verdansk, then please add them. And then the Verdansk news kind of tailed off for a few days, and then the Ghost of Hope popped back up with this tweet, which simply says it's back, and a picture of the floating loot that we had back in Warzone 1. Basically, all of these are leaks. They're not confirmed. However, the fact that the developers have obviously are going to put this back in the game, I think it's pretty much confirmed by this point. It's even though it's not confirmed that this will be back in the game. This is a huge, huge win. One, because a lot of returning players are going to come back to Verdansk. They might not have played Warzone since Caldera, or they might not have even played Warzone since Verdansk left it or anything like that. And they're not going to be used to this sort of horrendously bad looting system that we've got right now. The fact that we're going to have floating loot is an absolute win. It's so much easier to pick stuff up, and things don't disappear through the floor or into walls or anything like that. So this is an absolute huge win for Warzone. Then the Ghost of Hope followed up their floating loot tweet with this tweet, which says there are currently plans for red doors to return on Verdansk in a future Warzone season. Now, these red doors were introduced during the Cold War era, and these were the fast travel ways of getting around the map. You could sort of run through these doors and escape, but you'd end up in a room at the other end where there was sort of a lot more sort of high tier loot. There was a lot of orange crates and stuff like that. For me, this is the fast travel system that we need. You can't really guarantee where you're going to end up. You might be in Boneyard 1 minute, you might end up on the other side of the map in farms. However, that's the fun aspect of it. Secondly, there might already be a team in that room that you're getting into, so you've got to be ready for a gunfight. These things made the game a lot more interesting, a lot more like, oof, what's going to happen? I'll get ready for a fight at the other end of this. They also made perfect escape routes to try and get away from enemies as well. All of a sudden, you get chased down by a team of 3 trying to regain straight through the red door. They can follow you, but they might not end up in the same room as you. So the fact that we're getting red doors back in Verdansk, potentially, is a big win for me. So obviously, a lot of positive Verdansk news this week. I'm actually starting to look forward to this map returning. However, I said I was nervous about the return at the start of the video, and that's because there's a few things that's just in the back of my mind that I'm thinking, this could be a little bit, you know, hit and miss. And this tweet from Charlie Intel kind of sums it up for me. The tweet says, "Nostalgia with Verdansk won't save all of the problems with Warzone. And from what we've heard, Activision is hoping Verdansk can save Warzone's player decline. Nothing we've heard so far, though, suggests there'll be anything significant, hoping we're wrong." Now, as a working journalist myself, as my full-time job outside of doing this, you know, that's what I get paid to do, you hear rumours and you start to then go to your trusted sources to try and confirm these rumours. Obviously, the Ghost of Hope dropped a lot of leaks this week, so Charlie Intel would have gone to, you know, trusted sources themselves and been like, you know, is this true? Is this not true? And if they're going to their sources and they're saying actually they've heard nothing to say that this is going to be very significant, that the update's going to be able to save Warzone, then that starts to put doubt in the back of my mind that actually, you know what, we could be heading down a road that we're kind of already in right now. And that road starts with how stale the game is right now. So this is what I'm very, very conscious of about Verdansk dropping. So think back to Rebirth Island. That's the prime example for this. So Rebirth Island dropped in Warzone with the Cold War integration. However, it was a map in Blackout a few years before as well. Rebirth Island stayed in Warzone all the way through until Warzone 2 dropped. Rebirth Island then returned in the Modern Warfare 3 cycle, but it was pretty much the Rebirth Island that we knew from the previous game. And we've had that Rebirth Island now for almost a year, and there's been no major POI changes, no significant game modes on it, no changes to it. It's the same Rebirth Island, essentially, that we've been playing now for 4 years, since like 2020 or 2021, whenever it was added in the game the first time round. So it's kind of stale because of that. I'm worried that Verdansk coming back and this nostalgia element of Verdansk is going to, again, create a staleness. It'll be fine at first, because we'll be getting some POI changes like the train station opening, and we'll all be back on Verdansk. We'll all be happy because it's fresh for the first time in a long time. Fresh, something new to play. However, this tweet from Ghost of Hope, and it was a grain of salt tweet, but it reads like this, which makes me nervous to see that actually Verdansk could be around for a lot longer than we originally thought. The tweet says, "Grain of salt, Avalon may potentially be postponed from its original late 2025 release or completely canned for Warzone because of Verdansk's return." This is a problem because Verdansk won't save Warzone in itself, and eventually players will get bored of Verdansk. We need content. At the end of the day, you can bring back as many nostalgic maps as you want, but if the content isn't there and the player base are playing the same monotonous thing over and over and over, you will lose player base because of that. You know, if at the end of the day, if the game is fun, players will overlook things like bugs and a somewhat not working anti-cheat. Because for the most part, a lot of the cheaters are just in ranked. They're not really in pubs right now. So this will be overlooked by the player base. The player base, as long as they're having fun, will just start to say, you know what, as long as that bug's operating my game, I will keep playing. If you don't offer content constantly, this game will just become stale once again. Call of Duty needs to drop Verdansk in a working state. I said this in my wishlist video. It needs to drop it in a working state, but it then needs to innovate once again. It needs to go, right, okay, we're going to have Verdansk, but later this year, we're going to bring Avalon out, and then you'll be able to play Avalon, and then we'll take Verdansk out of the game, but then actually, you know what, a month or two later, Verdansk will come back into the game on a player, like, sort of match rotation with Avalon. That's what we need in Warzone. We don't need just things taken away from us. We need a base game, and we need it built on and built on and built on. Things like a new Resurgence map are desperate right now for Call of Duty and for Warzone. You know, we've had Rebirth for a long time, and we've had Area 99, hasn't really hit all that well with the community. Give us like a 72-player Resurgence map, like what Vondel was. Give us something like that. Give us Vondel back. You know, we're not able to play that right now. Give us something like Vondel back. Build the game up from a good point, and you will see players, one, returning to the game, and two, staying on the game. And to talk about how things can be freshened up very easily, this tweet from Raven Software sums it up. It says, "You may notice something a little different starting today. In preparation for future updates, we'll begin intermittently testing 150 players across standard Battle Royale playlists. We will be closely monitoring player feedback, performance, and overall impact on match flow over the coming weeks." Basically, Verdansk is going to drop with 150 players. They're testing that out. What I will say is, Urzikstan, incredibly boring map. Never really liked it when it dropped. Still very stale now. However, with 150 players on it for the first time, it feels like the map is actually populated. It feels like gunfights are much more frequent rather than running around aimlessly not seeing anyone. And it's just little tweaks like that. 30 players from 120 to 150 has helped this map so much to the point where it's just like, why have you not done this before? Like, the servers, for me, personally, seem great. They seem very stable. Not had any sort of issues when I've been playing big map. So, it's just things like this that just freshen it up just a little bit. And it's nothing major. It's literally just adding 30 players in the map. You know, back in the day when we've had, like, totally normal Rebirth or, like, things like, well, just, like, 100 players could drop in a Rebirth Island. Yeah, okay, it's a chaotic game mode, but it's fresh, it's new, and it doesn't have to be there forever. So, things like that need to be looked at and definitely implemented going forward when Verdansk drops. Now, I didn't mention this in my Verdansk wishlist video, but the more I've been thinking about it over the last few weeks, I think that this should have been mentioned, is that right now, Warzone's leveling system and unlock system doesn't really work for either new players to the game or returning players who haven't played Black Ops 6 because of Classic Prestige. Now, I said this didn't belong in Warzone before the Black Ops 6 integration. I said that aside from levels, the idea that Prestige should, you can go up a level and then Prestige and then everything really locks. I said that doesn't really belong in Warzone because it's a Battle Royale, and the idea of Warzone's sort of unique selling point is its customization aspects of it. So, right now, if you have never played Black Ops 6 and you think, oh, you know what, Verdansk is coming back, I feel like playing Verdansk, you want to load into Verdansk, well, guess what, you're going to be level 1, you're going to have nothing unlocked. Now, that's not a problem, really. Like, you can grind and get everything unlocked, that's fair enough. However, just say, for instance, on Season 3 update day, that the Compact, which right now is statistically the fastest killing gun at close range up till about 15 meters in Warzone, and then drops off heavily. But say that becomes the absolute meta SMG. Well, that Compact is unlocked at level 49. Then the weapon level of the gun goes up to level 43. So you've got to grind all the way to level 49, and then you've got to grind the gun all the way to level 43 to have all the attachments stuff unlocked for it. However, in that meantime of you trying to get level 49 to get the Compact, and then trying to level the Compact up, you're going to be getting absolutely just done in by people who have got the Compact unlocked. So, for me personally, I think that when Verdansk drops, I feel like Warzone needs to have everything unlocked for every player. I'm talking perks, equipment, weapons, attachments, the full lot. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to have players last all that long if they're just getting absolutely danced on by people that's had weapons all leveled up. Like, for me, it's not a problem. I'm 10th Prestige, nothing's unlocked, nothing's locked for me. Most weapons are pretty much fully leveled because I've pretty much like done camo grinds across the board for them, so it's not too bad for me. But if you're a new player coming back to the game, well then, you might have a bad time. Plus, this will go somewhat way of saying, like, you know what, going towards the future, that Warzone should be separate from Call of Duty. However, I probably will talk about that in a future video, no doubt. And the last thing that makes me nervous is, well, how playable will Verdansk be when it drops? Because for some reason, Call of Duty's never really had big updates to Warzone that's gone really smoothly. They've always been full of bugs, the audio breaks, something breaks. So it'll be interesting to see how it does. Hopefully, it'll be the start of Season 3 when this drops. Hopefully, it'll be March 20. If not, it's going to be mid-April with a mid-season update. If it is broken, though, and it's not ready, then I would actually like to see them delay it. I don't think it'll be the end of the world. The game's already in the mud anyway, so what's another 6, 7, 8 weeks on it's gonna do? But let me know your thoughts on Return of Verdansk. Let me know your thoughts on the news. Are you happy with the news? Are you sad about the news? And I will catch you in the next one.